This is UMass basketball.
I know this. I'm the most animated coach that you've probably ever seen on my team.
Thompson in the front court. Thompson will lay it in. And one. Hey, he's just being Frank.
Time for another episode of Just Being Frank, coming at you from the Champion Center here in Amherst. This show, as always, brought to you by the Massachusetts Collective. Become a part of Massachusetts men's and women's basketball by joining the Mass Collective today. I'm Jay Burnham, voice of the Minutemen, alongside head coach Frank Martin. And coach, feeling good this morning, coming off a big win over VCU, 74-52 here at home. I know it's a quick turnaround from last night to today, but how you feeling after that W last night?
Well, I finally slept for the first time in 2 weeks, so I feel a little better. But I'm real happy for our players. It's these kids have laid it on the line to help us to do what we ask of them on and off the court, to believe, and we've been playing really well over the last 6-7 games, and unfortunately, we had 2 tough losses in that stretch at St. Bonaventures, where we're in total control of the game, and then we can't put the ball in the basket at the end of the game, and then go to LaSalle, and it's first time all year that we're out of character, and as a coach, when your team's out of character, first of all, you got to have a personality that you're consistent with, so you understand when you're out of character, and we were out of character. We weren't as disciplined, our pop, whatever, all those things that this team's been really good with, our body language, our positivity, our enthusiasm, forget playing basketball, all those things. They've been great that way. And in that game, the first half, just wasn't there. Yeah. I can't tell you why. It happens every once in a while. But as that game unfolded, I saw our guys get back in character. And unfortunately, we took a 1-point loss, and I feel bad for Matt Cross because he's the one that's absorbed that leadership role on this team, and he takes that wide open 3 to tie the game, and it just went in and out on him, and he felt really bad. But bottom line, we came back after that game, and our 2 practices leading into VCU were incredibly well run. I shouldn't say well run. That makes it sound like I did something different. They performed in practice unbelievably well. The players did, and then we went out, and when that VCU game started, we were like shot out of a cannon. And not only was our disciplines and our effort, our positivity, our aggression good, but we also made some shots, and we attacked them the way the scouting report said that we should attack them. Alan Edwards put on the board key. We go through our scouting report before games. His key to the game, he said, the road to 17. That means win number 17 is the paint. And we went out and just absolutely attacked Matt and Josh and Dan. And even our guards, Jaden, first play of the game, big time offensive rebound, and we just attacked the paint. And I was real proud of the guys, man. I was proud of them because we're so young that we handled adversity the right way. Not that we won, the way we prepared after a loss. And then I'm happy for them. Because they've busted their butts to change the narrative of UMass basketball, to believe in what I'm selling, to believe in each other, and then to take on every team. Jay, you and I talk about it all the time. Every team we play, it's senior, and I'm not saying that as an excuse. I made the decision to go with freshmen, so I kind of knew what we were stepping into. I just don't pay attention to some coaches sit around and worry about what the other teams recruit. Man, we got real good coaches in this league. They're going to recruit good players. Why am I worried about who they're recruiting? I got to make sure we got the right players for us. And But now that we're in league play, every time I look at rosters, it's senior, senior, senior. I'm like,
Oh,
holy cow.
redshirt senior, grad
Can
transfer.
somebody else
Yeah,
play a
yeah.
freshman? Like, my God.
Well, okay, let me start here because I do want to talk a little bit more about this game, but I also want to set up this show because
Yeah.
there's been some exciting stuff happening behind the scenes. UMass alum and ESPN personality, the Friday night voice of the A10, Mike Corey, is going to join us along with his business partner, Brad Davidson. And they're working on a documentary about UMass basketball called Lightning in a Bottle. They've been working on this a couple of years now, and they've gotten to the point where they're going to share some of the things that they have in place as they try to get it to the finish line. So we're going to talk with them in just a little bit. But I wanted to go back to this game against VCU. One of the bigger wins that UMass has had at in this league in the last decade, essentially, a 22-point victory against a perennial team at the top of the conference. Josh Cohen, another 20-point performance. That's his 11th of the season. The double-double from Matt Cross, that's his 5th. But there's some guys on the roster. You mentioned it, Jaden Jingay. There was a great stretch for Jalen Curry and Keon Thompson, Daniel Hankins Sanford. Those guys, 4 points each for Thompson and Hankins Sanford. Jingay had a couple of big shots. There's so many other things that they do besides scoring the basketball that really help your team find success.
Everyone thinks that your role is you're a rebounder, you're a shooter, you're this, you're the defender. You know what your role is? Be really good at what you're good at. And then come in here every day with positive attitude and believe in what the team is trying to do. That's what your role is. Freshmen, because that's what the days of the Bob Hurleys and the Morgan Wootons, when kids understood their roles from their peers playing at their park, not from an adult that's 60 years old. Then when they got to those practices, they comprehended that you got to practice a certain way, and it was about winning the next game on the schedule. All that's changed. So I can't sit here and blame kids, and that's changed. I can sit around and complain, or I can try to figure out how to get them to understand that. And when all these first year guys, getting them to comprehend that is what matters. And that's where, when I say about, as I've gotten older, I've had to find more patience. That's what I'm talking about. Not the patience for growth, but the patience, not the patience for winning, not the patience for mistakes, the patience to get players to understand how they need to approach every day, because they don't learn it the way they used to. And those guys have been great. Their energy, their enthusiasm. Daniel's like a freshman. It's like Rasul last year. Yeah, he was at a really good program, and he played against really good players in practice and in games, but he didn't play a lot. And by the end of the year, he was just sitting there clapping. He had no other role. And I'm not here to blame why not. But the bottom line is he's had to regain himself. And there's an enthusiasm that you got to play with. Every one of those guys you mentioned has really, really embraced that. Keon, I said it after the game. I'll say it again. I'm so proud of that kid, and I'm proud of him, not because he's playing well. That's a byproduct of digging your feet in and continuing to work and believe in yourself and in the people that are trying to help you. But I'm proud of him because he could have packed his bags and left, like a lot of other people did last year. And he said, he told a lot of people that were trying to tell him to leave me alone. That's the kind of people that when you go through different heartache with them, and they're willing to tell other people to leave me alone, this is where I need to do. Those are the ones you put your arms around and you hug. Those are the ones that you really, really embrace. And he's been phenomenal. He's gone from a quiet kid to basically a point guard. And he's still learning how to play the point. But where he's at today compared to where he was at last year, it's night and day. And his toughness, his mindset, his commitment has uplifted our team.
I was going to say, I think about toughness and I think about Matt Cross and just what the word you used was hoss a couple of weeks ago with what he is. But Keon Thompson is sort of reflecting that as well. Is there some kind of, maybe some of that toughness from Cross and that leadership rubbing off on guys like Keon?
Yeah, I mean, it's no doubt. Everyone has to bring a different component. That's the beauty of team sports, man. We're all different. We're all different. We don't sit around and try to figure out who's right and who's wrong. We try to learn from each other and put all that together. And then the guy like Matt Cross, Hoss. You know what? You remember the TV show The Big Valley?
No, I don't.
You don't remember with Lauren
No.
Green and those guys?
No.
Oh my God, man. Did you ever watch TV?
Is it streaming somewhere?
Yeah, go find it.
I
So
will.
Michael Landon was the youngest brother,
Okay.
and he was Little Joe. Little Joe would walk into every bar and end up in every fight. You know why? Because his big brother, Hoss, was right behind him. And Hoss would take 9 guys and throw them out the door. And that's what Matt does for our team. And our team embraces that. So Matt gives everyone courage, and he backs up his words, not with fighting, but he's hurt. He plays. He's banged up. He don't complain. He don't say a word. Like yesterday, a shoot around. You were there.
Yeah.
He didn't even catch the ball with his right hand because it hurt so much. Then the game starts, and it's like he's 100%, and then he just figures it out after the game. And so all that stuff, Rasul's had to make major adjustments on how he approached every day. He's done that. So now me as a coach, I respect people that are willing to grow. And so now Rasul, because he's done that, he accepts coaching. Because he accepts coaching, the young guys follow. Josh Cohen, I've ridden Josh so hard this year, and I rarely do that to older players. But I've ridden him so hard. You know why? Because that's what he asked for in recruiting. I didn't recruit him, say, hey, man, that we need you here. I'm going to hug you every day. He said to me, I need a coach who's going to challenge me every day because I want to get better. I want to grow. So that's what I do. And because that's what he asked for. It's not, there's Frank. That's what Josh asked for. So it's my job to give him what he wanted. And he don't run from it. He don't like it every day, but he don't run from it because it's what he wanted. And because he allows me to coach him, then guess what? Daniel Sanford and all the other young guys, they fall in line. And that's the beauty of teams, man, is everyone's different and everyone brings their different personality into the room. And then we all get better because we have one guy gives me smarts, one guy gives me courage, one guy gives me direction. And you put all that together and you become a team.
You said Josh Cohen had his best defensive game of the year against PCU. We've got our guests in the waiting room, Mike Corey and Brad Davidson. Do you think I'm going to ask them if they know the TV show that you just referenced?
I'll talk. I'm not talking to Mike. I'm not talking to Mike. He does TV and he don't say nice things. I'll talk to Brad, not Mike.
Oh, he says nice things about Massachusetts.
Not Mike. Mike. I've seen Mike on TV. Mike does not say nice things about any team. He just sits there on TV and he just crucifies every team he sees. I'm not talking to Mike.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the show. Hey, there we go.
I gave a couple of fist pumps last night from my living room watching that game. I'll tell you that. I was yelling at the officials.
Hey, Jay, you know what's great about having Mike on this podcast?
What?
That he doesn't have his TV commentator hat on. He's got his UMass hat on right now.
That's
so
right.
He can speak clearly about watching that game last night.
What'd you guys think?
That was awesome.
Big win. Great win last night for sure. Mike, what happened? You didn't get the memo on the school colors today or what?
I know. What the heck? I'm wearing this like.
He's got his Yukon blue on today.
No.
Oh yeah.
You guys got to get one of these. All right.
I know.
That's it.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Frank,
So
that was totally true of you last night. The way that team played, it was awesome.
Yeah, it's a great win. We're talking about it. And why don't we introduce, Mike, I think a lot of folks know who you are. Why don't we just give a little background as to, your connection to UMass and what you guys are working on and, how this all came about. We're talking about Lightning in a Bottle, which is a documentary that you guys are working on UMass basketball.
Brad, fire away.
Yeah, man.
Oh, you want me to start? So Yeah, Mike and I are, lifelong friends. We met at UMass in that mid-90s, and Mike and I both were working at the radio station. I was like the general manager, and Mike was the sports director. This is for WMUA, the UMass station, and we just really hit it off in terms of like, I don't know if we were the best students in the classroom, but we were definitely knew what we wanted to do. We were career focused and we wanted to do something in athletics and entertainment. So we spent a lot of time together at the radio station and then the collegiate and hanging out with all the people that were supporting out the athletic program. And little did we know, we really had a front row seat to this magical ride that would unfold in terms of, going from a relatively, I wouldn't say unknown because they had, Dr. J and things happened in the past, but the program wasn't in a good place at that point. And then it just kind of took off like the title of the movie, Lightning in a Bottle. And then Mike and I remained really lifelong friends through the years. We both were kind of lower middle class kids that worked extra jobs to help pay our tuition and had a little bit of a grit in terms of adopting that refuse to lose attitude in life. And Mike really excelled in his career in being a professional broadcaster and doing games for NBC and ESPN and the Olympics and whatnot. I went and started working in music and film and was an executive at Sony Music, and now I work on the management team with the actor and musician David Duchovny, and do some, and I also teach in the UMass system at UMass Lowell. I teach music education. So through the years, Mike and I were always like, we should go tell this story, and it's a passion project, and you never get to it. And then I think in COVID, and I'm sorry for this long-winded rant, but in COVID, that's when we were kind of like, you know what, let's shit or get off the pot. If we're ever going to make this movie, let's make it. Let's put a plan together. Let's start meeting every week. And slowly we started to like move the ball forward. And now we're at a place where, we're ready to complete the movie, production of the movie this June in Amherst.
Wow. It's coming.
Yeah. A lot to unpack there. Yeah. I try to be concise as possible. Yeah. I don't know, Mike, anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I mean, that's kind of the story. I mean, it's, the whole time throughout really life, to be honest with you, it's like, I just attribute it all back to WMUA and UMass. I mean, that's really the reason why I got to do what I'm doing, on broadcasting, and, that's where it all started. And then, like Brad said, the whole refuse to lose mentality. It's like, I love being able to tell this story because it's not the way it is today. Coach knows this now. I mean, it's so different in college basketball. It's like, you worked your butt off. You learned, you grew, you stayed in school, you stayed strong to the team, you did better, you stayed with it. You didn't just, pack up and leave. It's just not the right attitude. I mean, that's just not how life works. So everything we had to go through when we were at UMass and that team went through and the lessons we learned, it just really stays true today, which is what I love, and I always love that place. And, anything we can do to kind of promote it, get it back up to the forefront, talk about, what it not only did for us, but for the community, the people, the university, the town, everything. I mean, that's what we're going to do. So we're so excited for this.
Frank, what does it say? Because I know everywhere I go, people talk about UMass basketball. When I say I work at UMass, they immediately say Marcus Camby, and they think of the 90s. What does it mean about the impact that this program can have on a region, on a brand nationally from something that happened 30 years ago?
Well, Jay, you've heard me comment on this in the past. I'm a high school coach in Miami, Florida, where basketball is not king. It's football, football, football. And I used to sit down there and I couldn't wait to watch UMass play basketball. That's the impact that a school in the western part of the Pioneer Valley of Massachusetts, with an unknown coach at the time in John Calipari, had on me as a young high school coach in South Florida. And then we're sitting here with Brad and Mike, and just think about what they're saying. It's 2024, and they're still talking about refuse to lose. That is the impact that athletics has on people on a campus. Students, part of the college experience is that athletic success. And when you have athletic success, it impacts your student community first and foremost. And it gives them a place of like excitement, whatever it may be about it. Gives you, we've lost sense of embracing what we're a part of sometimes. We're so worried about where we're headed that we forget about what we're a part of in the moment. And these guys are talking about something that happened 30 years ago. That's how powerful that thing was. My wife last night, am I allowed, Jay, I know this is kind of my podcast. Am I allowed to speak about local establishments here?
Have at it.
Okay. I don't know how that works. I don't want to get, Jay, I told you from the get-go, I get myself in trouble. I don't get my guys in trouble. I do enough crap.
I'm ride and die with Frank Martin. I'll catch all the Frank Martin strays. All right, whatever.
Hey, Brad, Mike, did you guys ever see the TV show The Big Valley with Lauren Green?
I don't know if I saw the Big
My
Valley.
God! Holy hell! Like I'd ask Jay, but forget it. Forget it. I was trying to get Jay.
I'll do some homework for next time.
But my wife, after the game yesterday, went to the place Joe's in Northampton. It was packed, and it was all people that were at the game. And she says, like Frank, they're so excited there right now. And that's when I got hired here, that's the first place they told me about. I remember going in there, and Meg, the owner, and a couple of locals, they were like, hey, we want to get it back. And I don't know if we're there yet. Excuse me, let me rephrase that. I know we're not there yet. But to see the fact that attendance is basically doubled from last year, and that the local establishments now, the people after games are going to these places and excited about the way our guys play. And we're sitting here and these guys doing this documentary, which is, it's powerful, man. Think about it. Refuse to lose. And now you can tell the story, not just to refuse to lose, but of everything. Jack Lehman is one of the most incredible coaches in college basketball that very few people talk about nationally. Like now you can tell his story even more. And then John Calipari and it's Julius Erving. Like, it's you'd be surprised how many people, like I knew it, but how many people you speak with that can't connect Julius Erving to UMass. My son, when he came to school here, he said, oh, Dr. J played here. I'm like, dude, like, how do you not know these things? You're my son. And then I took him over to the little interactive television that we have in Legacy Hall. And I punched Julius Erving in. And it comes across with all his stats. I said, look. And he says, what? I said, just read the stat line. And he got to the rebounds. And it said 19 rebounds a game. And he's like, that can't be right. I said, oh, it's right. He grabbed 1,049 rebounds in 2 years. Wow. That story can be broadcast now with what these guys are doing. And UMass has, hey, we're no different than the majority of the programs in the country. We've had some dead spots. That's every program in the country with the exception of Kansas, Duke, North Carolina. Everyone else has had pockets where, unfortunately, sustaining success is difficult. But the story can be told, and this is awesome.
Well, let me set this up for you guys because we are going to share the link that you guys have to kind of hype up this documentary is documentary even the right word? Just you correct me if I'm wrong on that, or
yeah, it's a documentary, but yeah, absolutely, okay. Yes, it's a documentary, but it's very much told as a human interest story and less of a scoreboard story.
Okay, and we will share also, you guys are looking for people to help invest to get this to the finish line. You're about halfway there with your funding or over halfway there, which is great. But you mentioned Dr. J, and that's sort of where this thing really started to push forward because, Mike, you were here for the statue unveiling that we had with Dr. J and with John Calipari and with the Lehman family. And that is where I think some of the filming actually started for you guys in terms of making this thing a reality. Where does that play into the storytelling of this feature?
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of it does. I mean, we were there September 2021. I mean, it feels like, the other day, and then it's like years ago. But I mean, that's how long these things take, and we were excited because when they brought the whole team back, we knew like, wow, this is a huge opportunity. We got to get back there. We got to film all this, and we got to use a lot of this, for the documentary. And we did. So we talked to Coach Cal, Bruiser, the entire staff, every single one of the players. We filmed the statue ceremonies you talked about with Cal, Camby, Dr. J, and Jack Lehman's family. We filmed the Hall of Fame induction ceremony that night, at the Mullins Center, which is awesome. Coach Cal is unbelievable. He's so gracious with his time and on board with this, been helping us throughout. He took us all the way around the whole Curry Hicks cage, showed us his old office, the locker room, everything to do with that. So it was pretty neat. I mean, we had an unbelievable weekend. It's one that we're never going to forget. And a lot of that footage is stuff you've never seen before. And that's going to be part of the documentary as well.
That's great. Brad, where does this story begin? How are
So,
what's the first scene?
Yeah, it's a good question. Don't know the exact answer to that yet. One idea is, and Mike broadcasted the St. Bonnie's game in Amherst last year, and we filmed that. We filmed me driving out to Amherst, going back to Mullins, meeting Mike, and seeing, 30 years later now, Mike's a professional broadcaster doing the game. I'm in the stands cheering, and after we kind of meet on center court and hug it out, and then start to walk through campus and tell the story. And that's really this whole, look, there's a million stories you could tell about UMass basketball. You could tell the history of UMass basketball. You could tell the history of Jack Lehman. You could tell the Marcus Camby story. You could tell 95, 96. For us, lightning in a bottle is really 88 to 96, that era when it just went from like nothing to everything, and then, sort of nothing again, for not nothing again, but, sort of a drop off. And then now we're in like the rebuild and showing great signs like this season for sure. So and it's told from the perspective of Mike and I, who are the narrators, not because we so much want to be on film. It's more of it's our story. And Mike and I, like, even when we filmed at that, what you were just talking about, we were like kids in a candy shop again. I mean, Mike has met millions of athletes, from Michael Jordan to you name it, in his career. I've worked with, you can see some pictures behind me, John Mayer and Dave Matthews and the Fugees and Aerosmith. I've worked with big name people, right? But like when we went back and I saw like Dante Bright and Dana Dingle, I was like butterflies. I'm like, these guys were gods, on my campus, that like, it's hard to describe. And yet he was trying to explain it to my wife, and it's like, no, like, you don't understand, like, Leonardo DiCaprio is not a big deal, but like Dana Dingle is a big deal to me, So that's how impactful, like, these guys, like when you saw Camby on campus, it was like literally seeing Taylor Swift on campus. You'd be like, oh my God, I saw Camby today. Like, where would we get around? And like, what did he do? What did he say? Was he cool? Like, it was just such an important time for us.
I'll never forget it real quick. Marcus Camby was walking toward me one day. I think I told this at the statue ceremony, but it was in early September, October, before the season. And he told us, he's like, well, I was like, oh my gosh, it's Marcus Camby. And I just like, oh, hey, Marcus. And he stopped right there, dead in his tracks, started talking to me. Hey, how you doing? It was like, couldn't be more gracious. And I was like, what's going on? He's like, we're just getting ready for the season. He's like, in fact, we're playing a pickup game tonight, up in Boynton, or not Boynton, Southwest. He's like, you should come by. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, come on down. We're going to be there. I'm like, all right, great. I go back. I tell all my friends, I'm like, Marcus Camby, I saw him on campus. He just invited us to go to play a pickup game. And like me and my friends, we all love basketball. We all play basketball. Of course, we played at our house. So we're like, let's go. We get all our shorts and shirts on. We're going down there thinking we're going to go play in this pickup game with Marcus Camby. We get there. Crowd of people. You can't even get near the court. We're looking through. It's him and a bunch of dudes. He catches the ball, goes from the foul line, literally like Michael Jordan-esque, and dunks it. And I'm like, oh my God. I go to this one guy. I'm like, how do you get in a game like this? He's like, yeah, you got to know somebody. It was just awesome.
Well, how about this? Saturday, I think you're going to be here for St. Bonaventure,
Yeah.
Right? You're doing the game.
Back at the St. Bonaventure game. Yeah, I'll be broadcasting that one Saturday.
So post-game, through the Collective, which is the sponsor of this podcast, we will be at Camby's brewery, White Lion Brewery, in downtown Amherst. Of course, he's come back and been a huge part of this community. Frank, talking about these teams, and you said you followed them closely back then. You're always preaching toughness. Was that the characteristic of those teams and
Oh, come
something
on.
that you admired?
Like, are you kidding? Like, everyone knows Marcus Camby, and
Right.
obviously he put the program to a different level. That's why he played 20 years in the NBA. Derek Kellogg, Edgar Padilla, Carmelo Travieso, uh, Dana Dingle. They don't make them tougher than them dudes, man. Them dudes that refused to lose wasn't Marcus's talent, which what we were talking about before we got on the call. Marcus's talent was here. Those guys had that refuse to lose mentality. So when you connect all that different, his talent, their desire, their grit, their toughness, this guy's, and you put it all together, you create special things. I like it. I told you I used to follow them, and I because I loved how they played. That mindset, like we don't care who you are, we're coming for you. That's who we were in our little pocket of Little Havana in Miami, Florida. We didn't think we're better than anybody. We thought we had to outwork everybody to find a chance to succeed. And that team kind of resembled who we were. So that's why I enjoyed watching them. I enjoyed watching Georgetown with John Thompson because of that mindset of toughness and grit and commitment to the team. And when you look, because Brad was talking about that window, 6 consecutive Atlantic 10 championships. Like, are you kidding me? Like, you can go through, and the first 5 were regular season and conference tournament. And that didn't happen when the A-10 was down. That happened when the A-10 was at its peak, like the best years of the A-10. You think about the teams and the players in that league back then. And those guys did it 6 times in a row. Yeah. Like, that's unbelievable. I've told people I don't have the time to research it. Who else in a power basketball league has done that 6 consecutive years? I don't, maybe Villanova at the end of Jay Wright's tenure, because they controlled the Big East for that window there from like 2015 to whenever he retired. But it's what they did here was unbelievable. And it wasn't done just because of talent. It was that mindset, that commitment to who UMass was going to be by everybody on the team.
That's a good point, guys. How does the A-10 play into this storytelling and the Temple rivalry and some of those things that played out?
Hey, Jay, I don't mean to interrupt you, but the Temple rivalry because of Chaney and Calipari is what everyone talked about. Rhode Island was really good. St. Joe's, Jameer Nelson and the fellas, they were really good. You just keep going. Like, LaSalle was really good. Xavier with David West and those guys. Like, the league was unbelievable. And I'm not saying the league's bad now, but that was the heyday of the A-10. And UMass dominated it. And not just like some spoof, they won the conference tournament 2 years. No, they dominated the league for 2 years. So I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Mike. I apologize. I get excited about that kind of stuff, man. I can't keep quiet.
You should. We obviously will tell that. And I think it was like the anniversary of the time Chaney went into the locker room there and was yelling at Cal. And of course, that's a huge part of that time period. And we'll tell that story. But he was the cream of the crop, right? It was all about Chaney and Temple, and then UMass got to him, right? They got to him finally. They had never beaten him ever. And then they got him in a regular season game. And then once you said like that, then they started to take over and win those 5 consecutive Atlantic 10 conference championships. But like you said, the 6 in a row for the regular season. It's pretty phenomenal. Maybe Kansas, right, with regular season titles, but not conference championships that much in a row.
Brad, as part of the man that's kind of putting this together, what's the time frame in terms of length of the show and kind of the cinematography behind it?
Yeah, so I think it's funny because like the refuse to lose mantra could really be like the story of making lightning in a bottle. So much parallels the actual story of like, hey, we have an idea of a great story that should be told, but we don't have any resources and we don't really know exactly to flesh out that idea. And then we just kind of like the program built, we started built. We're like, okay, let's start meeting and start taking notes. And then in the middle of the COVID, we wound up to like Northampton Library and got special permission to go in there with like literally those, what are those things called? The magnifying glasses and looking at all pictures. And then Mike kind of tracking down like an old hard drive that we found in the old basketball office, and like we started as kind of like research more, and then we got lucky with what the reunion that UMass put on, because we were able to go out and get real footage and then put a sizzle reel together. And then from that sizzle reel, I think we started to get more believers and people being like, yeah, this is a project I want to see come to life. I want to invest in it. And now we're, halfway through our raise, and we're on pace to finish in June. So we would be filming in Amherst for a week in June. One of the places we are going to film is at the White Lion, like you talked about before. We think that's going to be a place where like all the players and coaches that are coming back to the documentary are going to kind of meet. It's like a sort of a dinner the night before. We're going to film that and then do individual interviews the next day with different people and whatnot. And then depending on how our funding goes and whatnot, we'd like to start submitting this to festivals. We've already talked to the Boston Film Festival, who has invited us in their festival based just on the sizzle reel. The New England Film Festival, who we reached out to. So we would start getting in festivals and then look for partnerships in terms of a major streamer. This isn't something we're looking to just, plop online. This is something we want to see on an HBO Sports or an ESPN Films or an Amazon Prime or a Netflix or any of these great distributors that are doing cool sports documentaries. And we're already sort of engaging in conversations there. So
that's awesome, guys.
Hey, can I interject real quick something? Because I've repeated this. That's awesome. You're doing it at the White Lion, and the reason I say that is because Mike brought up a point earlier about where college sports are headed compared to what it used to be. Think about it. Canby was here for 3 years. That's what used to make college sports. So not only were you guys excited to come see Marcus and his teammates play, but so were the people at Rhode Island when UMass used to go there, because they wanted to see someone beat Marcus and the fellas. And 30 years after he played here, Marcus is not from Amherst, but Amherst helped him become who he is. And now he invests his money into an establishment in Amherst, Mass. And that's the beauty of athletics. So I'm glad you guys are doing it out of the White Lion and supporting Marcus for his part and his journey.
Yeah, he's been awesome, guys. And while we're on Frank's podcast, you got any questions for Coach? Coach, these guys, like, Mike Corey's not an actual TV guy. He's not like that. He's not he's one of us,
Yeah,
he is right now. Like Saturday, Saturday's gonna be confused. It's all the old guys are in town, and he's got to be talking.
Oh, the Bonnie fans know they're gonna be after him on social media.
No, Mike, I say this all seriousness because I've had guys that do television, like when Andy Kennedy, was doing television. He's not a South Carolina guy, but he's one of my closest friends, and he had to come do television and be neutral during the game. And then after the game, he's in the huddle, in the outside the locker room area, hugging me because we played well. That can't be easy to be in front of the cameras and do your alma mater's game and have to be completely neutral. That can't be easy. I don't know how you can do it.
No, it's not, because I have so much passion and love for that school, and it's like doing those games. We were there at the height, right? Nothing got bigger than that, right? That was my freshman year, was the Final Four. So I kind of got into it right at the absolute best time that you can do it. So it was unbelievable, and I know we struggled a little bit after that, but it's like, look, I've been part of like some of the highest and some of the lowest. There was games I did there for a couple of years, and there was like nobody, and I'm like, I can't believe this. And then there was a game I did back in 2014 when Kellogg was coaching, and we went to the tournament for the first time since 98, and that place was sold out. It was rocking, and I remember saying it on the air. It's like, this is the energy that I felt. I got goosebumps. I'm still trying to be neutral here, but I just said how it was. This is the energy in this building that it was like back during those years, And then when I'm watching that game last night on TV from my home and seeing you guys dominate VCU, and then I get chills sitting there of like how amazing that is to be like, to dominate an opponent, to play the way that you guys play, which is, I know, the way that your mindset and how you want guys to play. They did that defensively, grit, toughness. I mean, you held them to like one field goal for the first 10 minutes of the game. That was unbelievable. So that brings me joy and excitement. And so, yeah, always behind the scenes. I'm totally cheering for you guys. The only time that I have to be neutral is for a couple hour stretch if I'm calling a game, but you get excited for big plays, for every team, right? So it's not hard, but I'm just so thrilled with what you're doing. And I hope the fans continue to come out and support this group, because this is what it's all about. You don't just come when you're winning. That's easy. We need you to come out to help us win, to help us get to that point. I know you guys all know that. So I'm just fired up for what you've been doing. So congratulations to this point.
I appreciate it, Mike.
Frank, the
Yeah.
t-shirts that we gave away the other day said, "Build it together." Where did that slogan come from, and what does it mean for you?
I just put a tweet out one day. I can't remember when it was. And when I got here, our fan base was scarred. You guys would probably understand this better than me. When I got here, our fan base was scarred. And for what reasons, I don't know. I wasn't here. I'm sure everyone has an opinion why. I didn't come here to betray this university. I didn't come here to steal money from this university. I had just gotten fired. Anyone that's ever been fired, you sit back and you question whether or not you're doing your job the right way. It's a hard moment for any individual to be in. This university gave me a lifeline. I didn't come here to retire. I came here. This university, I'm a loyal dude, man. It's who I am. I don't speak for others, but I do speak about myself from that. I don't speak about my successes, but I'll tell you who I am. If you give me a lifeline, you've made an ally for life. And when I got here, this university was committed to recreating whatever we needed to do to try and get to where it used to be at again. That's why I took the job, and they believe that I can help them do that. Unfortunately, because of the scarring, there was a negativity in place. And anytime something went wrong, like I don't have a magic wand, okay? Even in NIL, look around the country, some of these teams that went all in on NIL, how's that going for them as far as year ones? It's not easy, man, especially when you have to take, like we've won 17 games. First time in 10 years, a school wins 17 games. It's not like we're winning 22 and just getting left out of the tournament and we just had to take another step. We basically had to go from the bottom of the league and try and work our way up. Coach Huggins had a great saying. He always said, Frank, when you take a job, look at the league and figure out who you can pass. Well, at UMass, we had to pass a lot of people to get back to the top of the league because we weren't like in fifth. And so that takes time. It takes work. It takes people committed to what we're doing. You can't get there if you're engulfed with negativity. When you're trying to recruit, social media is a big part of recruiting right now. It's a big part of everyone's life, but it's a big part of recruiting. So when you're recruiting kids, their AAU coaches, their parents, they go read social media to see what people say about your school. And if your own people are speaking negatively, man, it's hard. You can't build it with negativity. You can't build a house if the people building your house are negative about doing their job. You can't build a house if the people that are going to pay for the house to be built are negative about the neighborhood they're moving into. You got to build it together, man. The builder, the contractor, the developer, the owner, everyone's got to be on the same page with positive energy. So when that house is opened up, everyone can enjoy what's inside the house. And so I was just not to fight negativity. I'm too old to fight, man. I'd be a first round knockout. I used to be able to knock out in the first round. I'm a first round knockout now. So that don't mean I won't step in the ring, but I'm a first round knockout. I'm at peace with that one. My whole thing is I had to find something to get people to say, you know what, man, let's build this. It's not built. We're not trying to fix the roof because a beautiful house is 20 years old and there's some damage from a storm. We're trying to build the foundation so then we can build the house again. So I just put a tweet out. I said, let's build it together. And I guess our school people have, our Pat McWilliams with the collective, our school people, they liked it. and it's kind of taking a little life here for our program right now, and it's the truth. We can't build this with negative. If you're going to be negative, don't come. Don't come. Don't come. If you're neutral, come on. I want you here. If you're neutral because you don't trust yet, but you're willing to kind of pay attention, come on. I'm not asking you to get on board from it. I love this guy. No. Come on. Let us earn your trust. But don't come into our group that's fighting. You see our players. They're fighting their tails off. They don't need negativity. So I can go recruit the next Matt Cross. I don't need negativity. Our program doesn't need negativity. We got to change that narrative little by little, and you do that together. You don't do that by individuals. You do that by everyone coming together, and that's what we're trying to do.
Guys, anything you want to add before we say goodbye?
I just wanted to just throw out sort of one thing in terms of people that are looking to invest in our film. One thing that Mike and I did set up is we set up an endowment in the name of the film. So for investors that, traditional investors, they invest in the movie, we sell the movie, and then you get your money back. But for investors that are looking to invest in the film and are looking for that money rather than coming back to them, put back in the university, you can put it directly in this endowment that Mike and I set up in the name of the movie. And that endowment goes to support students like Mike and I that are supporting the athletic program, either through like an unpaid equipment manager to a broadcaster like yourself, Jay or Mike, or somebody that's writing for the paper, or people that are doing extracurricular stuff, excuse me, to give back to the athletic program and support the athletic program. So yeah, this project clearly is not like a money grab project. It's a super passionate project. Mike and I have thrown our own dough on the table to get it, to the point where it's at. Now we're super thankful for, people that have supported us. You mentioned Pat McWilliams. He was one of our earlier supporters in helping with this film. So that's great. And then lastly, just really appreciate us being on. And Jay, I want to thank you for that. And Coach, it's just really exciting to have games like last night again. And the one thing I would pass on to you in terms of the legacy of UMass, and we've seen Dr. J, and we've seen Calipari, and we've seen Camby, and there's been some great people that have come through, but I really believe now's your time. And I love the fact that you were so visible immediately when you came on campus and let yourself know that you were there to do something, and clearly through building from even just last season to this season has been a lot of moves forward. And I wish you the best success, not only for the university but for yourself personally. I think you're the right guy for what we need right now, and I'd love to see you win.
I appreciate that, Brad. And I was going to say this to you guys before you were so nice. I didn't expect Mike to say anything nice, but Brad, I appreciate what you said. But I was going to say this to you guys because it's real. What you guys are doing, and Jay had no idea about this, but my wife was in school with you guys. And once I got married 20 years ago, I got to relive some of while coaching at other places, the experience of a UMass student and an athlete on this campus during that window, and what basketball meant to everybody. My wife's her track program was able to grow because of men's basketball success during that window. So her experience got better, and she always embraced. She had a great, like every time we get together with Camby, she always says, "Marcus, I've seen you more now than I did in class." And Marcus thinks it's the greatest thing of all time. He started the COVID classes back then, but Anya and I are on board to help you guys with this project. So make sure I get the information, because this is important. This is important, what you guys are doing to this university and this program. Because 10 years from now, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow, but who knows what we're all doing 10 years from now. But the bottom line is, like I told you, this place gave me a chance. It's my job to do everything I can to embrace people like yourselves that were a part of this, to elevate this program so we can get it back to where it needs to be. So make sure I get the information, because Anya and I we're on board to help you guys with this project.
Wow.
We'll give it to
Wow,
everybody.
thank you.
We'll share it, and we'll see you guys on Saturday for the game against St. Bonaventure. Big game against the Bonnies coming up. We need everybody there. They'll build it together at 2:30 tip. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
All right. He's
Thank
Mike
you.
Corey. He's Brad Davison. Of course, he's just being Frank. Until next time from Amherst, my name's Jay Burnham saying so long, everybody.